Hi everyone, I'm Kelly Walshaller, President and CEO of Parks California, and welcome to our third ParkSpeak event. I am at amazingly beautiful Anza Borrego Desert State Park here in the Colorado Desert District. I am underground right now. Some of what you're hearing from us is going to be from this beautiful underground visitor center. So if you lose us for a minute, stay on. We will come back as soon as we can. I just want to say a few things before we begin. As always, I want to acknowledge the ancestral land that I'm standing on here at Anza Borrego Desert State Park. The Kumeyaay and the Cahuilla peoples is the ancestral land that I stand on tonight with all of you. I also just want to take a moment to say that I'm excited that for the second time in our ParkSpeak series, we have Director Armando Quintaro joining us virtually. So we're going to have Armando come on and have a few minutes just to chat with him about what's been going on since he joined the department. Armando, are you on?
Yes.
Oh,
hello,
fantastic.
Kelly. Good to see you.
Nice to see you too. So you've been in role for a couple of weeks, and we'd love to hear about some of your learnings or headlines to share with us.
Well, you know, the last 5 weeks for parks have been pretty dramatic. As you know, we've experienced some devastating fires. So several of the trips I've done have been to the parks affected by fires, including Big Basin, Annandale, Sugarloaf, and some of the parks up in the Santa Rosa area. You know, my days have been busy meeting a lot of stakeholders and park partners, meeting with park employees and elected leaders and talking about the issues that parks are facing. I've been doing a lot of reading and a lot of ingesting the stories around parks, and it's just been a real delight. And in fact, on Monday of this week, I was at the Castro Adobe in Watsonville and recorded a message for Hispanic Heritage Month with one of the interpreters there. And it was a spectacular visit to a little jewel up in the hills of Watsonville. So it's been an amazing 5 weeks. It feels like it's been a week. And it's just astonishing. I feel so privileged to be connected to this organization and to be meeting people within the extended parks family.
That's wonderful. We have just been enjoying getting to know you so much. And one of the things you and I have talked about, even before you took this role, and we had a chance to meet early on, was this connection between people and place and storytelling. And I wondered if you would share a little bit about your thoughts there, and also maybe about a specific park, perhaps even Anza Borrego.
Sure. You know, 2 weeks ago, the governor put out an executive order announcing the creation of Native American Day. And I was asked to submit a quote for that. And I was given a draft quote, and I edited my quote just a little bit. And the part that I edited ended up reading that these parks are for all Californians, whether they're first generation or 50th or 500th generation Californian. And I think that really is a message that's about the length of time that people have been here, and really how when we go to parks, what it does is it brings us into a history that we end up becoming a part of by being in that park and understanding those stories. And where you are in Anza Borrego, because of COVID, in many of the parks, there were events that were delayed or canceled. And in April of this year, state parks had plans to dedicate new interpretive panels there from an event that occurred in 1966 when Cesar Chavez came to Borrego Springs. And the park that you're in right now played an important role during his stay. State parks actually collaborated with more than 60 students from the Borrego Springs High School, which is a Title I school. And they collaborated in 2019 with project leaders at Anza Borrego Desert State Park to capture the efforts of Cesar Chavez in this region through 4 bilingual interpretive panels for the Borrego Palm Canyon campground. In June 1966, Cesar Chavez came to Borrego Springs to support local workers who actually wanted the National Farm Workers Association as their union. After being told that they could not camp at Christmas Circle Community Park, Cesar Chavez and union organizers camped at Anza Borrego Desert State Park. And despite pressure from local businessmen to evict them from the park campground, Wes Carter, who was then the supervisor of Anza Borrego State Park, continued to allow the group to stay at the campground, recognizing that parks are for everyone. The group had paid their fees and accepted the park rules just like everyone else. And Carter later recalled that there were no problems with Cesar Chavez and the National Farm Workers members, and the interpretive panels showcased the contributions of Cesar Chavez to the local community of Borrego Springs. And this project was more than preserving historical events. The experience of researching and helping to design the panels not only gave the students an opportunity to connect with the historical events of their community heritage and the park that surrounds them, but it also gave them an opportunity to look at parks as a possible track for opportunity and experience. And so I think parks offer far more than just a place where we can get mental relaxation and physical exercise. It's actually a place, parks are places where you get to engage with the stories of society and the stories of humanity. They really are extraordinary treasures for the world.
Oh, that's such a great story. And I was really fortunate today to get to a few of these incredible places in the park, including getting a chance to see those panels. And they are in one of the most beautiful campgrounds you'll ever see, with this incredible. And it's just so wonderful to hear you talk about the importance of that historical moment in this park and what the role this park played. So thank you so much for sharing. Thanks as always for making time and talking to all of us, and taking us on your journey in this new role. And can't wait to see you again soon. Thank you, Armando.
Okay, safe travels, Kinley, and have fun down there.
Thanks. So it's so great to be here. And I always love hearing from the director, thinking about in this role, since it's still new for him. I think, let's talk a little bit about Anza Borrego, because I'm also learning about it. So a couple of fun facts that I've learned, but right before this trip, during this trip where I was out in the desert all day today, is that Anza Borrego is an incredibly diverse set of lands. We think about desert and we think only about sand. We think about desert and we think maybe only about some hills. But what I learned today is that the desert spans from sea level all the way to over 6,000 feet, which is crazy. I think when you also learn about this, you've got archaeological history here too. So what's happening in this park is truly unique. And again, as a first-time visitor this week, I will say it is really spectacular. So I want to share that as we dive into more details and information. I think, again, as we talked also, we are standing on land that belongs to the Kumeyaay and the Cahuilla peoples. And it's always important to understand where this land came from and who it belonged to. And so you may hear music in the background, some of the singing that we wanted you to be a part of too, as we're talking a bit more about this park. So again, a reminder, as I start to introduce and tell you a little bit more about what we're doing tonight, I'm underground right now in the visitor center. And if we lose you for a second or two, we're gonna come right back. So please don't give up on us. We may cut in and out, but it's really important to us that we're physically here with you in these places so we can tell you about them, share a little bit about what we're seeing and learning. So I always have to do a little housekeeping. There's a chat function on your screens. Feel free to tell us who you are and where you are. This is our third ParkSpeak. So just a reminder for those who've been tuning in for all of them, hi Mom, that we always have people from across the state of California. We've had people on the East Coast in New England, and even some people from outside of the country listening in and learning and experiencing these places. So chat function, tell us where you are, tell us who you are. There's also an opportunity to ask questions. If you like a question that's already in there, if it's the exact same thing you were going to say, give it a little thumbs up because it'll raise that question to the top. And we always make a little time at the end to answer some of your questions. So it gives you an extra chance, if you loved a question, to take it to the front of the line. So a little bit there. I also want to just mention safety is our first priority. So you'll see some of us as we're coming on and off camera, putting our masks back on or taking them off. Again, we want to be here with you. We want to be interactive, but we are playing it safe and we are being careful. So I just want to share that too. I'm excited soon to introduce you to the team. I have Ray, Bree, and Lydia. I'll tell you more about them in a few minutes. And first, I have a question. There's going to be a poll on your screen, and I want to know how many of you have visited Anza Borrego Desert State Park in person before. A little known fact that Ray will tell you more about is this park is about 2 hours away from San Diego, and it is well worth the drive. I came down actually from San Francisco just yesterday. That's a long one, but it was totally worth it. So you're going to see some poll results on who has been here and who hasn't. So I just want to share that. I also want to thank you. These are really tough times for all of us. And I hope that taking the time with us during ParkSpeak, taking a moment to learn about a place either you've never been or that you have loved for so long, because it's been played a role in your life, I hope it gives you a minute of peace in these very tumultuous times that are happening across the world, across the nation. So I really do appreciate you being here, and I know the team today does as well. So, a couple more things, housekeeping things. Your support of Parks California helps us support California state parks. And it's the opportunity for us to be here and amplify these amazing partnerships. And that's what we're going to do today between Anza Borrego Desert State Park and Anza Borrego Foundation, hereby known as ABF. So I want you to click on the donate button, parkscalifornia.org. If you note that you're watching Anza Borrego or AB ParkSpeak, we'll make sure to share all the proceeds for the next 10 days with Anza Borrego Foundation or ABF. So you'll hear me say that a couple more times today, so you know who ABF is. I'm just looking at my notes because it is time for us to bring in Ray Lennox, the District Superintendent for Colorado Desert. And Ray is going to come on while I'm exiting. So I'll see you all soon. Enjoy.
Thank you, Kenley. If any of you had a bucket list of parks to visit after the pandemic, of course, Anza Borrego needs to be high on that list. Anza Borrego Desert State Park is the largest state park in our system here in California. As Kenley mentioned, the park is 2 hours east of San Diego, downtown San Diego, and is about an hour and a half or so south of Palm Springs. The park spans about three counties, not about. The park spans 3 counties. And so as you move west into the upper peninsular range, you get up into the San Diego County. As you start moving down the mountain slopes into the vast desert floor onto our eastern border, you get into Imperial County. The south end of the park comes to within about 2 miles of the international Mexican border, and up to the north, we have Riverside County. And so the park at 640,000 acres is massive. Now, if you don't speak acres like me, that just sounds like a big number. I think to put it in a little bit more context, the park is 1,000 square miles. The park is big. And so again, if you haven't visited Anza Borrego Desert State Parks, please come out and visit us when it's safe to do so. After the pandemic, we'd love to see you. And so I can remember the first time driving into the Borrego Valley with the Santa Rosa Mountains as the backdrop. And I thought to myself, wow, there's a reason why this is a state park. I was blown away. And even then, I still hadn't grasped how massive this park was until I actually got out and started driving from end to end. What's unique about this park is that 2/3 of the park is classified as a state wilderness or a cultural preserve, which offers the highest level of protection for a state facility. We have a vast transportation network of roads and trails. We have 100 miles of trails, including a 50-mile section of the Pacific Crest Trail. We have over 500 miles of dirt roads that kind of spider webs out into the interior and exterior of the park. Many of the dirt roads require high clearance 4-wheel drive vehicles. The park is unique in the fact that it has 2 of the 3 desert wetlands in the Colorado Desert region. We have several desert oasis palm groves throughout the park. We have wrinkled, twisted landscapes, which is known as the Badlands. We have dry lake beds. We have several slot canyons that you can drive through and on hiking trails. The park during the spring months has regional wildflower blooms. About, I don't know, a couple years ago, we had what was known as a super bloom. And that only occurs during the correct conditions of moisture, temperature, and timing. So if there's a time to visit, I should really say that though. Anza Borrego Desert State Park and the community of Borrego Springs is recognized as a dark sky community. The park offers some of the most incredible views of the nighttime sky. Often when people think of this, when you think of the desert, the first thing that comes to your mind is sand and cactus. And that's simply just not the case with Anza Borrego Desert State Park. The park offers critical habitat to over 1,700, and it's probably closer to more like 2,000 species of animals and plants. We have several different rare, threatened, and endangered species, with the most notable being the bighorn sheep. We have a rich deposit of over 550 documented terrestrial and aquatic fossils, some dating back over 9 million years. Like, this park is impressive. Kenley talked earlier about the ancestral lands of the Kumeyaay and the Cahuilla. And we have over 10,000 recorded archaeological sites, and it's believed that there's an additional 10,000 more that remain out in the park. One of the most, well, not most, an impressive fact with the park is that we have 3 research laboratories for botany, archaeology, and paleontology. It's staffed with employees and a set of dedicated, trained volunteers. Without our volunteers, I couldn't even begin to tell you, what we couldn't achieve without them. Our collections allow for continued research, not only for state parks, but research that is shared across the nation and throughout the world. We're able to catalog, date, and in some cases, reformulate scientific theories. The park has 3 developed campgrounds. We have an equestrian campground. We have a campground with RV hookups. We have cabins. And we have our regular tent campsites. We have 9 primitive campgrounds throughout the park, which offer few amenities. And what's interesting about Anza Borrego is the entire backcountry, that 500 miles of dirt road networks, is considered a camping facility. One of our most visited places is a visitor center where we're standing today. And so what I'd like to do is introduce you to Lydia to tell you more about that. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, everybody. My name is Lydia Stinson. I am an interpreter here for the Colorado Desert District here at Anza Borrego Desert State Park today. And we are here in our visitor center, which is technically closed. The indoor facilities are closed. And so today we're going to give you a little sneak peek, an inside tour of what you might see here. Now, this is an award-winning interpretive visitor center here. We've got incredible exhibits here featuring all of the different diversity of wildlife and plant life that you might find here in our parks, such as the beautiful bighorn sheep. But as we come over here, we might see some cool things like our archaeology discoveries here. We have an incredible rich history of our Kumeyaay and Kalia native tribes that existed here in our park since time immemorial. And if we come on this way, we'll see examples of different habitats that you might find, like our beautiful palm oases. There are several areas of palm oases in our park. Most notably might be our Borrego Palm Canyon, which is one of our most popular areas in the park. And that trail actually recently reopened, but there are lots of other oases in the park as well, such as Mountain Palm Springs, which is down in the southern end of our park. So if you'd like to visit a different part, maybe visit down south. But as we come on here, we see even more examples of the different habitats that you can find within Anza Borrego. Because as Ray and Kinley mentioned, this is a really big park, over 640,000 acres. It's hard to comprehend. And so there are so many different habitats, like say our Badlands with beautiful sedimentary layers that stack up, showing an incredible geologic timeline over about 10 million years. And I know some of you might be looking at me and saying, hey, Lydia, there's something over your head here. We've got a beautiful mountain lion perched up above us here. So there's really an incredible amount of wildlife here to find. Hopefully none of you will run into some mountain lions. They typically only come out at nighttime, but it is always possible. But let's come on this way. As we come around the corner here, you will find our state park store, which is a really cool facility that is actually run by the Anza Borrego Foundation, which we are really lucky to have here with our park to supply some really cool things. And you know, I think I've spotted somebody pretty cool that we should talk to. So let's move on over here because we are lucky to run into none other than the incomparable Bree Fordem.
Hey, Lydia.
Hey,
How's
Bree.
it going?
Good. How are you? What you doing?
Good. I was just checking out one of the books in our Austin State Park store. Did you know ocotillos have 2 kinds of leaves?
2 kinds of leaves?
Yeah.
I did not.
Learn
That's
something new every day here.
It's so cool that we have so many different options here for people to peruse in the state park store.
We have a little bit of we have a little something for everybody here when you come visit the park.
That's cool. And you know, we do have some ocotillos right outside. You want to go look at some ocotillos with
Let's
me?
go check it out.
All right, cool. So we're gonna head on outside, and it's worth noting while we are walking outside that this building is underground. And so this was built, the architect who designed this built it to emulate the underground burrows that a lot of creatures here in the park create to keep cool, because it is quite hot out. It's, I'm guessing, about 100 degrees outside today. So let's go on outside, our beautiful visitor center here, and we can see our visitor center garden. Now, we're lucky to be in the shade, but as we come out here, you're really starting to see just the beauty and amazing vistas that Anza Borrego has to offer. I couldn't agree more with Ray. The first time I came here to Anza Borrego, I was just in awe of the amazing beauty and the natural habitat that we see here today. Now, as you're looking out here, we're seeing a beautiful nature garden trail that you can take to see some of the native wildlife, the native plant life that exists here. And if you're lucky, you will probably find some jackrabbits, probably see some antelope ground squirrels, as well as a lot of birds as well. But now that we're outside, Bree, come on over here. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about who you are and what the foundation does?
Sure, I'd love to. My name is Bree Fordem. I'm the Executive Director of Anza Borrego Foundation, the park partner to Anza Borrego Desert State Park. We've been around for 53 years as a park partner. We started as just a little small committee of volunteers, actually, that the department approached and said, hey, we need your help. We've got 70,000 acres of private in-holdings in this beautiful park, and we'd like you to acquire them and help us transfer them to the park. So we started just as a small little group, and we blossomed about 17 years ago and expanding our mission to interpretive sales and education and interpretation, and also research.
That's really cool. Now, you know, can you tell us a little bit more about the inholdings and the park land parcels that you guys have acquired? I think you have something kind of exciting to share.
We do, yeah. So over the last 53 years, we've acquired more than 55,000 acres. And over the last 10 years, we have acquired 17,600 acres that is in escrow currently, and we hope to have transferred to the park this December to be protected in perpetuity. We're very excited about that.
That's huge. That's a lot.
Yeah, it's one of the largest transfers in the state.
And, you know, as an interpreter, I am particularly interested in the youth education programs and the interpretive opportunities that you guys help support. Can you tell us a little bit more about those programs?
Yeah, definitely. So we offer both education programs for adults and youth. Specifically, we offer a youth education program for underserved fifth grade students in Imperial, San Diego, and Riverside counties. This has been an amazing program for us. We've been running it for 16 years. It's a 3-day, 2-night camp program. And for many of these students, it's the first time that they've ever had a camp experience or been recreating in a public land.
And what are the kinds of things that they get to do while they're here?
Yeah, so we have a Paleontology, Botany, and Archaeology lab. So they're really exposed to careers in the sciences. They're able to hike and check out different natural resources together. Just really an amazing experience for them to just sit and be in awe of nature and get outside of the classroom and apply some of the science principles that they're learning inside, outside.
That's awesome. And, you know, I'm quizzing you, I'm asking you about this, but I do have some experience working with Camp Borrego, and I can really attest to how this program, it really lets them explore what is their backyard. That's and right. Get to really see this incredible place and expand on their outdoor recreation here in Anza Borrego Desert State Park. So that's something that I love to be a part of. But not only for fifth graders, we also have programs for our fourth graders. We have a junior ranger program that we are lucky to have ABF support on. And that program is about a 10-week long program, weekly program for our local fourth graders. We do have public junior ranger programs as well. But for our local fourth graders, they get to come weekly after school. They get to hike, they get to sing songs, they get to nature journal, and again, really experience what their backyard is here. So I love getting to participate in programs like our junior ranger program. But I will say that these programs aren't necessarily just for these local surrounding areas. We also have a ports program here. I am a ports presenter for California State Parks here at Anza Borrego Desert State Park. And the ports program is a statewide program that stands for the Parks Online Resources for Teachers and Students. And we here at Anza Borrego, we've been running our ports program for about 15 years. And we get to reach students from all over California, students that might have geographic barriers, maybe economic barriers to coming and visit the park. And we get to do distance learning technology similar to what we're doing right now with all of you today, and really connect with those students into their classroom. So that's a really fun opportunity that I have. And you know, just last year alone, with our on-demand classroom programs and our home learning programs, I was able to connect with over 12,000 students here just last year alone, last school year. So I'm really excited to continue that work here at Anza Borrego. And we're also starting to work into our blended access programming to help increase access for students and our K-12 audiences into California State Parks. And that means that those students might get a free virtual program before coming physically to the park and getting an in-person field trip. So creating that kind of cool opportunity for them to learn about the park before they actually get here, so that when they do get here, they have an even better understanding of where they are and what they're going to learn. It's a really, really awesome opportunity.
Yeah, and sounds great.
And I've got to thank you, Bree, and ABF for all of your support with the ports program and with our junior ranger program and all of our interpretive programs here at Anza Borrego. And I also want to thank Parks California for providing us with many of the much needed equipment for our ports program that's being used today as well for this program tonight. So thank you to Parks California and to ABF.
Yeah, well, you know, it takes a team. I wouldn't be able to say we could accomplish anything without our amazing staff and our board members. They're just a dedicated, passionate group of people that have really made the work that we do here so successful. So thanks to all of you. I know you're out there watching us today. And really, you know, our success is rooted in the value that the department holds in our partnerships. And so we wouldn't be able to do that unless we had that recognition to work together and collaborate. And I have to thank Ray Lennox. He's really just been a visionary and inspirational for us to continue our partnership together. His team, their dedication to leveraging what ABF can do to increase our access and education to so many in California and beyond. So thanks, Ray.
Thank you, Bree. A relationship with ABF is important to our park here, as well as California State Parks. ABF has made significant impacts and success of the park over the past 53 years. They've provided $34 million in combined services, land, and direct cash support. California State Parks is for everyone, and together we're working hard to increase access to Anza Borrego Desert State Parks and state parks throughout the state. Thank you, Kenley, for sharing our story today. Sorry. We're grateful for the support.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ray, Bree, Lydia. This is truly, I mean, a spectacular place to be standing. I get to look at the view while you have to look back at me in front of this rock wall. So I just want to say a couple of things. You know, I wrote some things down, and as I was listening to Ray and Lydia and Bree speaking, things that I learned just in this last 20 minutes or so, that this is indeed the largest park within the California State Park system. That's out of 280 parks. We learned about the diversity of what grows here, from animals to plants, and also what a great innovative partnership can do. The fact that there are over 50,000 acres of land holding or land transfer from Anza Borrego Foundation to California State Parks is pretty remarkable when you really think about it. So I just want to say thanks to them for this innovative approach. And just a reminder, Parks California is here showcasing innovative partnership. We're here to focus on equity and access, to ensure that people understand that these parks are here for all of us, that they're here for all of you. And so I encourage you, whether you're in California or not, to take the time to come and to visit. We're going to turn to Q&A in just a minute, but I want to give you a reminder. ParksCalifornia.org has a donate button, and any money that comes in that has a little note that says Anza Borrego or AB, we will share those proceeds with ABF, with Anza Borrego Foundation, and for 50 years of partnership in this gorgeous place. So I think that we are going to go on to Q&A. So our man behind the camera is going to read some questions out to a couple of us, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you want to hear about more tonight.
All right, as your questions start to come in, I'll read them off. The first question is for Lydia, so let's swivel back on over here. We got our whole team. And get a little of that beautiful desert in there as well. So Lydia, your question is, where's the underground museum and how long has it been there?
That's a great question. So the Underground Museum, our visitor center, is really the hub for Anza Borrego Desert State Park. It's located just outside Borrego Springs. So as you come down the Montezuma grade here, where you get that beautiful vista, we're just off to the left here, off this road here. And I'm actually not 100% sure when this was built. 25 years ago? Thank you, friends. Yeah, so we've been around here for quite a while. It's a really beautiful building. I mean, you can see it right here. Some people actually miss it when they come to the park because it is hidden. It's really an underground burrow here. But yeah, it's right outside Borrego Springs. Definitely encourage you to come on down. Unfortunately, it's not, the facilities are not currently open. But hopefully, hopefully we're all doing our part to flatten the curve.
Awesome. Thank you, Lydia. And we have another one for you.
Perfect.
With the addition of purchased land, is there any added funding that supports and maintains it? If so, who funds it? And that might actually be a question for the team here.
Yeah, I'm going to actually throw that to Bree here, who might be able to answer that a little bit better.
Can you repeat the question for me? I'm sorry.
Yes. So there's an addition of new purchased land. Is there additional funding that supports and maintains that new land? And if so, who funds that?
Oh, great question. So our land program is funded through different types of grants and some individual contributions. And a lot of people actually donate their land. So the cost to acquire the land and transfer it to the state can be very low. Our land being transferred really is very deep in the park, and it borders in holdings that are sometimes mostly inaccessible. So really what we're protecting is those wildlife corridors and the continuation of wildlands. So rather than increasing expenses for the park, we're actually decreasing expenses. So there's not a lot of expense tied to acquiring these new lands.
Right on. And Ray, this one's coming up for you.
All right.
When is the best time to experience a wildflower bloom?
I want you to know my staff is going to murder me for bringing that up. So it kind of varies. It's all really time dependent, weather dependent. Usually in February, mid-February into March, we experience different kinds of blooms. Under our typical circumstances, what you'll find is, I mentioned regional blooms. And so the best thing to do would be to call the park office, call the visitor center to see where those blooms are happening. I know like this year, we had some really nice blooms down in the south end of the park. And so you're probably looking at about February, mid-February into March. As you start getting into April, it starts heating up. But again, it's all kind of weather dependent. And I know that it's difficult because sometimes people plan their vacations and they come and they say, where's the flowers? And it's like, ugh. And then they leave and they kind of explode. So it kind of depends. Bring your patience.
Awesome, thank you. So if Ray disappears, we'll know what happened. All right, this one's coming up for Lydia.
Okay.
What is your favorite species at Anza Borrego Desert State Park?
Oh, that's a tricky question. Are we talking plants or animals?
Let's go animals for this one.
Okay, all right, animals. This is a hard one. I talk about a lot of animals in my ports programming, but I would have to say my favorite animal might be a kangaroo rat. They're typically animals that you'd see at nighttime, so not something that you would see hopping around here in the desert today, not something I could point out today, but I like to think of them as little nighttime ninjas because they are excellent at jumping up and doing these kind of mid-air acrobatics to escape from their predators like rattlesnakes, and they've even been documented to kick rattlesnakes in the face, which is pretty brave for a cute little kangaroo rat. For plant life, I'm just gonna keep going.
Yeah.
For plants, my favorite plant is a cool plant. Unfortunately, I'm not gonna be able to carry you over to see one of these plants out here in our garden. There's a plant called cheese bush. And believe it or not, it smells like cheese. It smells like gross, stinky cheese, which most people like plants because they're, beautiful scents and whatnot. But I think that it's so funny that, it's one of its adaptations is to smell gross so things won't eat it. And I think that's hilarious. So that's probably my favorite plant.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
And we have our final question is actually for every person on our panel. We want to know, what is your favorite state park? And we'll start over here with Kinley from Parks California.
I usually answer where I am. I'm from and live in San Francisco, so I always like to talk a little bit about Angel Island because it's such a unique experience where you have the history of people coming into the country, and then you also have these amazing nature trails and views of San Francisco. But I have to be really honest, Anza Borrego is clicking up with every minute that I spend here.
Yes, indeed. How about you, Ray?
That had to do with the tour today.
It did.
$1 million tour. For me, that's a difficult one. I think each park is unique. I started off up in the Redwoods, and the Redwoods have their own beauty. I traveled around on the statewide trail crew. I spent some time over in Big Sur on the waterfall trail, and so to have that as my office for about 6 months or so. I spent some time up at Cuyamaca and Palomar. Those are these sky islands, trees in Southern California. But I really believe that my favorite park is Anza Borrego, and it's not just because I work here, and I have to say that. But you know, being out in the park, we talked a lot about the different resources and just the diversity that this park has. And you know, I've been here 12 years, and I haven't seen all of it. And so, you know, just the opportunities to explore. And so, Anza Borrego, hands down.
All right, his staff may let him go on another day.
Can I just say what he said? No, really, I visited many state parks, and they all have a special place in my heart, honestly. And nature is a really important element to my health, and it just is a quality that I have to integrate in everything that I do. And I've spent a lot of time here. I've been visiting the park since I was 14. And I have the greatest privilege to help protect this park. But just like Ray said, there's something magical about this land in that it takes a long time to get to know it. You think you're in love with it, you think you're inspired with it, and then it just keeps on going. There's just not another parkland like this. And so hands down, it's Anza Borrego Desert State Park.
Right on. And last but not least.
Thanks. You know, I think the reason why we have such a difficult time answering this question is because California state parks, there's such a diversity amongst these parks. You could go to a coastal park, you could go to a redwood park, you could come down here to the desert, you could go really anywhere, and they're all so different, so it's hard to pick what your favorite one is. You know, I have favorite coastal parks and redwood parks. And as far as the top of the top, and considering that many of my bosses are here today, I want to say Anza Borrego Desert State Park because this really is just an incredible place. You know, the first time anybody comes here and they come down that grade and you see the mass expanse of desert habitat, it is just mind-bending. It is really just a beautiful, beautiful place, and it doesn't stop getting more beautiful. You know, I've been here for only about 2 years, but I still have only seen a very small portion of this park. So I think I love it the most because I'm always going to continue to be able to explore it and see new things. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that, Lydia.
Of course. Thank you all for your great questions.
So I always have a question too, because I think it also reminds parks such important and personal roles in each of our lives. You know, we mentioned sort of the mental well-being and physical well-being component to it, but we all have the opportunity to establish personal relationships in our lives across the California state parks and beyond. So this has been an absolute joy. I think, again, you can see behind me just the sheer beauty. And I do have to tell a really cute story. There's a family walking around behind me, I think are here from Washington, and came to meet Lydia because the kids went through the PORTS program. And I think that's an example of what kind of personal relationship we can all start to form with places that we've never even had a chance to visit in person before, and then make the time to come and do it. So I want to say thanks, Ray, Bree, Lydia, to all the team helping behind the scenes. This is our third ParkSpeak. We did one in August up at Sumag Village, up in the Humboldt, at Patrick's Point. We did one at La Purísima Mission in Lompoc, California, and now we're down here in the desert. And it is truly an honor to be able to bring these amazing spaces and stories and innovative partnerships to you. So it's humbling to me to know that we can play an incredible role here in helping to tell these stories. And I think, again, there's so many wonderful things happening across this California state park system. And I'm grateful that you took the time to learn a little bit about it here with us today, tonight, and in the past. So thanks to you all. Reminder, we're here to help support California state parks by hitting that donate button on parkscalifornia.org. And before you go to Anza Borrego or any other California state park, please go to parks.ca.gov, flatten the curve, or another website called recreateresponsibly.org. We're all in this together. You heard it from us throughout the evening. We're maintaining space. We all want to get back out there. We want these places to open up that aren't yet open so that we can enjoy them to the fullest. Thanks again for being with us, and we'll talk soon.